Start when you're ready. Are we good? My name is Dave Bergen, as I told you yesterday, and I really want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share some ideas with you today. Appreciate George allowing me to take some of his valuable time, because he has such a short period of time to cover a lot of stuff. George Bernard Shaw once said that if I have an apple and you have an apple, and we exchange apples, we both walk away with one apple. But if I have an idea and you have an idea and we exchange ideas, we both have two ideas. And that's what I want to talk about today, are just some ideas, some things we can do in our classroom to make what we're teaching come alive to the students. I think most of us are pretty comfortable with the chalk and talk and going through the information that we need to pass on to our students. But when it comes to trying to find ways to really make it click with them, I don't want to abandon the lecture. I don't want to abandon the content, because that's really important. When it comes from making things click with students, we need to get them involved. There was a Chinese proverb that said, "Tell me and I'll forget, show me and I'll remember, involve me and I'll understand." And that's one of the principles that I try with my AP students. I try to involve them in as many ways, and I'm sure you do the same. So this is meant to be reciprocal. If you have some ideas, some of the things that I do, none of them were originated by me. I borrowed them from other people and stole them from here and there, and some of them I got from this institute that I was in 2001. So I encourage you to do that. If you have things you do in your classroom that are pertinent to what we're talking about, throw them out there and share them with each other, because the networking of AP teachers is really, really a resource that I've utilized and have helped my students. Share with you just some bits of information that you might want. My name again is Dave Bergen. My email address is dbergen@charter.net. Yesterday a question was asked about websites. I am not as technologically savvy as others, and I have found that there are 3 websites that I personally use. There are probably hundreds of them. These aren't the only 3. These are 3 that I've used in my class, and I don't feel like I could do one better than these 3, so I use their websites. First of all, AP Central. Everybody needs to be on AP Central, and probably that's how you found this institute. Join Listserv. You'll get emails and share ideas all the time. It's really, really powerful tool. The websites I was telling you about yesterday, Jason Welker has Welker's Wikinomics, and from that, if there's a topic that you're not real clear on before you teach it, it's always nice to get a refresher. It's a great website. The kids need to review for tests. He's got a running blog where students from all over the world, he teaches in Switzerland, I believe, and students from all over the world will ask questions and respond to each other. It's really a neat website. Refonomics, Steve Reff and Dick Brunel have developed a series of lessons, and these are meant to teach economics. Highly recommend you go check out Refonomics.com. And Dave Mayer, who's from Texas, has this website, and a lot of what he's done, he puts PowerPoints and videos and all kinds of resources that you're welcome to utilize. And so I highly recommend those 3. And in the For What It's Worth department, of course, we're all going to have a textbook. Some of you may have control over that. Some of you may not. So regardless, whatever your text is, this is just my personal feeling on supplemental materials, things that I found that I've used. There are others. These are not the only ones. I saw George has a stack of books over here that he's sharing and has used. I love Economics by Example by Dave Anderson. I use the McConnell and Brood text, which you all, I think, got a sample of, as my textbook. It's excellent. It's very hard to read. Economics by Example is excellent and very easy to read. It's very user-friendly, and my students, it really helps them connect the material to real life. Excellent book. My personal favorite review book is 5 Steps to a 5 by Eric Dodge. There are other review books that are really good. I have found that when I'm doing my AP reviews, I set up a calendar and they go through 5 steps, and my students have given me feedback that that's been very, very helpful for them. So I just recommend you jot that stuff down. Now, everything that I'm going to do today, I'm actually going to just do a couple simulations. We'll do them in abbreviated format because of our time constraints, just to give you an idea. Anytime I try something new in my class, and you probably feel this way too, I'm a little nervous the first time I do it, because I'll read something in a manual or something I got in a Morton book, and you know, it's kind of confusing. It looks like it's going to be chaotic. And then you do it. You kind of get the guts and you try it and it works and you have a powerful tool to connect with your students. So I'm going to try to demonstrate just a couple ideas that you can take and modify. They may not be anything new to you. You may have done it before. But the first one I want to do, yesterday, and I'm not sure exactly because I wasn't here, I'm not sure how much review you've done over your costs. Let me erase some of this just to, well, I'll leave it. But we're going to do when I introduce my cost curves to my students, and we're starting to talk about profits and losses and so forth, I do a very, very short lecture on just the definitions. And so I give them that information. So I don't just go into this cold. I find it works best if they have the definition in their head and then use the definition, which is what we're going to do. And again, I'll abbreviate it into about a 10-minute simulation as opposed to in a normal class I'd spend 30 or 40 minutes. So you're going to have to work real quick. But first of all, what's the difference between implicit and explicit cost? I found for my students, that's been a stumbling block for them. And so that's why I've sort of modified this simulation we're going to do. What's the difference between implicit and explicit? What's an implicit cost?
It's one like the company absorbs, like somebody that works there, and you're not paid for your work.
Okay, bingo. Good job. That's exactly right. An implicit cost is it's an opportunity cost for doing business. So you own the business and you put your efforts in, but you don't write yourself a paycheck. That's an implicit cost. You own the building that you work out of. You don't rent it to somebody else. That's an implicit cost. It's resources owned by the entrepreneur, right? So an explicit cost, the way I explain it to my students, if you write a check for it and give it to somebody, it's explicit, okay? And so I quickly go through those definitions. Probably spend a little more time with my high school students. Fixed and variable. What's the key between a fixed cost and variable cost? And you all were doing some of this yesterday when I came in. What's the key with a fixed cost?
Controllable and non-controllable.
Okay, controllable and non-controllable. Finish this sentence. A fixed cost is independent of
production.
Amount of production. It's independent of Q. Okay, doesn't matter what the Q is. It's a sunk cost. It's something you've spent regardless. And we're going to the second simulation we're going to do is really going to look at fixed and variable. And a variable cost is one that changes as your output changes. And so I talk through those very quickly. And then it seems to me about every other year or more, I don't know about the multiple choice questions because kids aren't allowed to talk about those, but on the released exams, you're going to see these concepts of economic and accounting profit. And on the free response, about every other year, it seems like you get economic and accounting profit as a topic. And so that's really where the first simulation is coming from. What's the difference? And you can tie it to these terms. What's an accounting profit? And I'll give you a hint. It's exactly what you think. If you just went to your high school students and said, what's profit? What are they going to say? It's your total revenue minus your total cost. Now, what they're thinking when they say that is they're thinking minus the things you write checks for. So your total revenue minus your explicit costs are your accounting profits. In economics, however, we're concerned not only with the things we write checks for, we're concerned with opportunity costs as well. This drives accountants nuts. They don't like we economists because we talk about opportunity costs. We look at implicit costs as well. So when we say an implicit cost, if we have an economic profit, it's above and beyond an accounting profit. If we say in a perfectly competitive firm in the long run, what do we say about their profits? They only earn a normal profit. They earn no economic profit. Okay? And oftentimes when you say that, somebody says, well, why would you be in a perfectly competitive firm if you're not earning a profit? Well, they don't earn an economic profit. They don't earn above and beyond a normal profit. And so they could still have an accounting profit and have zero economic profit. And for perfectly competitive firms, that's exactly what happens. So I would spend a few minutes talking through those things with my students. And then we're going to start a simulation. And what I want you to do, just for right now, again, I'm going to do this very abbreviated. We probably won't complete it, so I'm going to put a time limit on you all. and we may go around and take some of your groups. Think about what you're doing first. We're not going to do this based on how fast you go, but the goal here is we're going to develop a business, and it's Marshmallow Towers, and we're going to be building a tower out of the following supplies. Does anybody use this in their classroom? Okay, great. This would be perfect. Our supplies for building our building are as follows. Let me give everybody, and I actually have blank copies in your handouts that I'm going to give you at the end. So you can write on this today if you want to, and then you'll have a blank copy. And if you ever lose something and you want to email me, I'll be happy to send it to you. I think I've got enough. I may be short a couple, but if you can just look every other person, and why don't we just pair off? And if we have a group of 3, that's fine. But every other group, just take one of these handouts here for Marshmallow Towers. But what I explain to my students, I'm just going to pretend you all are my high school students here for just a minute as those are coming around. Again, if we can go every other, I think that's about how many copies I ran. But our business, each of you are involved in developing, building a building. And you're going to build it out of, we have large marshmallows. Hopefully they didn't melt in my car yesterday. Don't let your kids eat them all. But, and we also have mini marshmallows right here. And the other material that we're going to use are toothpicks. Those are the only materials you can use. I also give my students a base. And if you notice on here on my fixed costs, I have a base on there. I give them a piece of construction paper. That won't be that important for you all. We'll just pretend you have one. The reason I do that is they have my desks are slanted in my room. And when we measure the towers, they have to be placed on a table. So when I did this the first time, these kids built these huge structures that were horrible, by the way. But they built these huge structures that they couldn't move to my table. So I make my kids fit it on a base so they can carry it up to my table to be measured. If you don't have that problem, if you have tables like this classroom, that wouldn't be important. But we've got a base that everybody's going to pay $500 for. We're going to have $100 tax, insurance $100, and we're just going to say our salary, we're going to make that a fixed cost, even though oftentimes when we talk about employees, we make them variable. But for right now, we're just going to say these are overhead salaries. You're on a year contract. I break students up into groups of 4, so I put by 4. We'll just give you all a raise, and you each get $50. So it's $100 salary for worker. And then your normal profit, what you would be doing if you were doing something else, is $100. So your total fixed cost for each group, each pair, is going to be $100. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to have you send a representative from each team up to the table, and I'm going to count these as fast as I can. I usually have a student worker who will put my toothpicks in bundles of 10 so I can quickly hand them out. So you all just be patient with me today because I don't have them grouped up like that, but I think you'll get the idea. Each round, you can come up and buy whatever supplies you want. There's no limit. You can come up as many times as you want. You don't want to overshoot your supplies, so you don't want to leave yourself with unused marshmallows or toothpicks at the end. So be careful. You can come up. I have room for 7. Usually by the time people have come up 3 or 4 times, they know exactly what they need. Every time you buy a toothpick, it's $100. Every mini marshmallow is $50. Every large marshmallow is $200. Now, for you all, if after we're done and I have marshmallows left, you can eat as many as you want. I tell my high school students that they can be audited, and if they're audited, you can see down here if they're missing a marshmallow or a toothpick, it's $200. The only reason I do that is if another team sees one team just eating marshmallows, they'll pull them on an audit, and so it keeps the kids from eating them. I usually bring an extra bag and just throw out marshmallows, and usually if you eat one marshmallow, you're happy. That's good. What we're going to do then at the end is you're going to each have different variable costs depending on how many toothpicks and marshmallows you buy, and you've got all have the same fixed cost of $900, so you got to at least cover $900. Now your revenues, you're going to get paid by how tall your tower is, and so every inch for the first 4 inches of your tower, you get paid $1,000. So a 4-inch tower, you get $4,000 of revenue. Every inch after that is paid $2,000 per inch. So if you had a 5-inch tower, you get 4 for the first, and then 2 for the last inch, so you get paid a total of $6,000 revenue. Your goal is to build the highest tower you can with the marshmallows and the toothpicks. Okay? Questions before we start?
Does the tower have to be solid?
Oh, good question. I should have covered that. Your tower has to stand when being measured, and when you're done, you can call me to measure. It probably won't take 45 minutes to have you build a huge structure. But when I measure your tower, it has to. You say, okay, we're ready. You take your hands off. It has to stand for 5 seconds. Now, something I do in my class, and I think I cut it off of here. Yeah, I did. I cut it off of here. Something I do in my class to involve more people is I add a sign bonus. If they make a sign, it has to be a regular sheet of paper and put it on the top of their tower, and they can decorate it. They get an extra bonus of a couple $1,000s, I believe is what I do. And then if the tower stands for 15 seconds with the sign on it, they get an integrity bonus. And so I added $1,000 for that, or something like that. I try to get more people involved. And if I have groups of 4, usually there's one person just sitting there so they can at least be making the sign and thinking about it. Okay? Now, any other question? Question I always get from students: how much money do we have to spend? You're starting a business. It doesn't. I mean, you're based on your revenue and your costs. Okay. Now, again, we are not going to take 40 minutes to finish. I think we'll get the idea. So somewhere in the next 10 minutes, get a tower started, and I think you'll get the idea. Okay. Go. Come up to the table to get your supplies when you're ready. Oh, and when you do, when you come up with the supplies, I don't let students get their supplies unless they have a filled out invoice sheet. So you have to put, I need 10 toothpicks, 10 marshmallows, and come up with the numbers. Write your variable costs each time.
Try to make it as high as we can to offset these costs.
Let's go ahead. And we can turn it off, and then we'll go around. And oh, really? That's cool. Okay, when we're done, share that idea. That's awesome. Okay. That's really good. That's true.
And it's in a brown paper bag, they don't know what they're getting.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
We can use it first, second, third.
All right, we need to be getting our supplies, again, because our time is limited. We need to roll with it. You don't want George to kick me out.
Got a stamp of what? Got to buy some more. Buy some more. In order
16 large or small?
in order for the time to
That's
work.
20 toothpicks right there. You better count them, make sure I didn't short you.
Well, we can't have any excess,
Yeah, we got to order some.
G16. You all have your total costs on it, right? Right. Okay. What we need, 600. And 9?
2,100.
Well, we're getting the height.
But my daughter, if you're making it this big,
Okay, that's it? All right. Good sheet, yeah. All right.
I mean, I'm not that small.
See, we're already in a month.
Still, it's not large, but
Did you get it?
And I'll bring it.
We'll give you a pretty list. We may talk very much. That's all for now.
Well, once you bought them, you can't sell them back. You got to use what you bought.
you're gonna get more height
Oh, you are.
using.
Well, how much have you spent?
I don't know.
How much have you spent total? We'll go with You need to write down 1,000, and that's 500, and that's 2,000. So that's 3,500, right? And right now, your revenue is $2,000. You only spent 3,500 plus your fixed costs. How are we doing, Victor?
Exactly right, okay.
4.
So we're gonna, we're not gonna clean up. We can just go
How many?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one.
we can go over the 3 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and figure it out. If y'all are done, try and get you the right ideas. Okay, you need 10 toothpicks?
Yeah. Show me that.
Perfect. And now you put $1,000 down here. Good. So when you're done, you can just add those up. That's perfect.
Okay, go ahead.
And that towel has
How
to
we
be.
doing?
Go ahead.
One more, Lauren.
And then, yeah, and then we can start stacking up like that.
Do the little ones,
Yeah.
for time's sake. I could, we could go on up if we had time. We could,
Because we can put the toothpicks on the side.
Yeah.
Make sure that these
A lot
are
better if
the
you can
one.
actually put that one like that.
That's good.
We need to get some small ones to start with. So let's do how many small marshmallows?
But we train.
That's the limit. We can do, we can use as many small ones as possible.
You can't have anything left over.
We're stopping. We'll just eat these right now. We got, he said 14. $50. What is that?
Go girl, go girl.
Because that would give you more height.
You talking about?
Oh. Don't make it. Try.
Go girl.
Try it like that.
Keith, are you adding to it here?
We're trying, but we're running into it.
You can't have anything.
Yeah, see if we do.
Anything.
We can't have nothing left over.
Anything.
So you've already got them. They're already sunk. So
Yeah.
stick them in there somehow.
Well, hey, come measure our towel.
All right,
Six
you're right at 5. Yeah, so you've got $6,000. How much have you spent?
$6,000.
We
We'll spend a lot.
4,500.
Okay, so you're up. Well, you have $900 fixed cost though.
Okay, see. Oh,
But you're still up. You still have some economic profit there. That's good. Purposes of this class, I think you're getting the idea. In a high school class, I would give them a long time to do this. But I think you're kind of seeing how this works. And I want to give you all ideas because you all have already, a couple of you already shared to do something similar. And that's how we're going to learn how to do stuff. So for our purposes, I'm going to measure your towers in 5 minutes. Okay? And if you want to, if you're done, you want to go ahead and measure. Okay, isn't it the same?
We can do another one, big ones.
Okay, we've got 9. So you get $4,000 for the first 4 inches, and then plus 10. So you have $14,000 right. Now figure up your economic profit on it. Good job. Hey, they made profit though.
You
I
did this,
think.
don't you, John?
It shrunk.
It shouldn't shrunk now.
well,
Janice, you push that down?
no.
You got it on quicksand, man.
Yeah, we're hurting because you're down to 4.5. But I'm gonna give you 5.
Okay.
You bribed the person doing the measure. $6,000 revenue. So down in your revenue, you want to put 4,000 here. I'm
gonna be shaking.
For the extra inch. So revenue is going to be 6.
Your legs are a little weak there, Tim.
If we,
Okay, then we had that.
We didn't get enough consultant help. Now you're giving other people help.
I was just,
Oh, very disaster.
Some marshmallows.
How much money did y'all spend?
George.
you guys
We
have,
got some proprietary idea here.
yeah, they do.
They hiding everything over there.
That's winter chicken.
Yeah, you can keep that right here to inspire you for the rest of the
Turn it loose, Paul, so it falls over.
If we had another toothpick right here.
we don't need.
Put them down your invoice sheet.
I gotcha.
Being done.
What you need?
3 toothpicks and 2 mini marks. We're gonna call it quits.
Okay. 2 minis. You got them on your sheet. You got your costs. Okay.
explain how much they can do as well.
It has to be 5 inches tall in order to, or, actually it has to be 6 inches tall in order to make our money back.
In order to break even?
There goes some expensive stuff in that thing.
We only use the best. It's by $2.
Just tell me.
This is the Mercedes of towers.
Nasty marshmallows you can grab, and I've got bags of them if you want some marshmallows. And, you know, they don't feed you here at all. So.
And you know, telling kids don't eat those nasty marshmallows is a waste too. They're gonna eat them.
Oh, when they're done. But you know, they really, I was afraid that all.
Wait, let me get.
All right, now when we're done here, you need to put your variable costs there, come up with your total cost. Your total revenue, you've got 8, so you're going to get 4 for the first 4, plus 8 for the next 4. So you had 12,000, although it fell now. But so you've got $12,000 revenue. So get your revenue in there and figure up your economic profit. That's how you find the winner, is the economic profit. I think. Okay, they're finally in, and you've got, we'll call it 7. So your revenue, you got 4,000 for the first 4, plus 6 for the next 3. Oh, and it fell. But I measured it. They've already come through and taken the code. Okay, every group, real quick, figure out your economic profit or loss. I think everybody made money, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, this is all.
And then we're gonna talk about how you can use this, what it does, how it helps you, and then some of you were sharing some other ideas that you do in your class. And that's what this is about, because I'll steal some of those ideas from my class. What are some of the things that were illustrated here that you can pull out when you continue talking? What are some concepts? First of all, let's go around and find out what your profits. What'd you all end up with? The economic profit, just the end game. $700 right there, okay? And you're figuring yours. Keith, what'd you all end up with?
11,400.
11,400. What'd you all end up with your economic profit?
8,300.
8,300, and you all had 7,200. So unless Tim and Beth are going to totally pull a counting blunder, what'd you all end up with? 6,800. 6,800 profit. Nice, very good. But our winner was 11,000. Now, as a prize, the only thing I have are bags of marshmallows. If y'all want to munch on some marshmallows during, I don't want to take them back to Tennessee. So excellent job. Now, what are some things from this simulation that we can use in our classroom? And then I want some of you who have some other things you do to share those. What are some things this illustrates?
Fixed costs, variable costs, cost of inputs, whatever.
Okay, all your costs. So when you start talking about fixed costs, variable costs, your sunk costs. You know, some of you realize you bought more marshmallows than you needed, but you had to attach them somehow. You start looking at how businesses think, and they're thinking bottom line profit. You know, look how simple their structure is. What were your costs? Just your costs.
Total cost 2,600.
2,600. Did anybody have lower total costs than that? I don't think so. And they had as high total. You all had a 9-inch tower, and they had a 9-inch tower. So, you know, your revenues were the same, and your costs were lower. Now, every one of you made economic profit, right? If this were a perfectly competitive market or a monopolistically competitive market, what would happen next? Firms would enter. And now, I want you to know something. Leanne she was exactly right. She said more people would come into the market. And what did I do? I said, firms will enter. Now, what she said is exactly correct, but I try to train my students to say everything identically. That doesn't mean my way of saying it is right. I mean, you could easily say more people enter. That says the same thing. But one of the things I do when somebody gives me some feedback is I will repeat it back to them in a format that I want them to do. Now, I wouldn't explain that to my students, but they'll hear firms will enter. That's right, firms will enter. And so when they write on their test, they'll say in the presence of profits, no barriers to entry, firms will enter. They're all like little robots. But that's what we want. We don't want creative writers in economics. We want them to say the answer, period, shut up. Don't keep talking. Give what's necessary, and then stop. And to do it in a form, if you train your students to answer using the language that's identical, again, it doesn't have to be my way. You could say people enter or whatever. But if you train them to do that, it makes grading so much easier. because they'll all answer the questions in those formats. And so that's excellent. So in presence profits, firms would enter. And then what would happen? Let's say this is perfectly competitive. What would happen next? If firms entered, what's that going to change?
More product on the market.
Okay, there are going to be more product. So wait, if we went back and drew this as side-by-side graphs, okay? So let's go back here. And again, I like to put my market graph here. Doesn't matter. You can switch that if you like. And then I have my firm. And let's say we're ending up here and we've got profit. And you might even have them draw this, or I would have them draw this just to practice, if we had already covered that. What's this going to change? When firms enter, does it affect which one will be changed? Supply increases. Excellent. So in the presence of profits, firms enter. You draw your new supply curve, and what's going to happen? How's that going to affect this firm? If supply shifts to the right, what do they find? Again, assuming this is a perfectly competitive firm, what would that change on this sheet right here if firms enter? Price. And what's our price? Right now your prices were right here, 2,000 and 1,000 and 2,000. Those would go down as firms enter. More competition, more towers being built. Your tower's now one of many instead of one of few. You earn less revenue. And so the firms would end up with what kind of profit in the long run? If it were perfectly competitive, zero economic profit. So when you teach that, you've just done a little simulation, kind of a fun game. You can see how high school kids get into that. Your physics kids will love it. The best tower I've ever had, I wish I would have had a picture of it. They built a dome. These were my physics kids working. They built a dome first, and they didn't use any large marshmallows. And then they did a triangular spire coming out of the dome. And I think the total was 27 inches tall. And it stood like a rock. It was incredible. I want those kids to be in charge of building real buildings. Usually what's going to happen to high school kids on this? They're going to come up and say, I need 40 marshmallows, 150 toothpicks, and they're going to end up building this monstrosity, and that makes it tough. That's hard. But there are a lot of applications you can do. And then when you come back and start talking about this, you can pull in marshmallow towers. Now, some of you were sharing, as we were doing this, some of the ideas or things you do in your classroom. Keith, do you mind sharing what you were, I think it's a great idea. What do you do?
I got it from the Georgia Council for Economic Education. You take just a white sandwich bag that you would pack a lunch in, and then you have various items like a paper clip, a piece of yarn, tin foil, all this stuff. You put it in the bag. Do you do it, Marty? Yeah. You put it in the bag. Each group pulls it out, and then they have to make some product. You can use the bag. Make some product out of it, and then it comes with simulated money. You cut the money out, distribute it to the groups, and then I have them blind select behind a little board which one they would purchase, so there's no pressure from the class. And then we vote on which one would sell the best, and they come up with some great ideas with limited resources. It's amazing.
That might be something, if I were going to use that activity, I'm thinking about using something like that, kind of back here, talking about scarcity and entrepreneurial skills. That's a great simulation. I think it's they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You could do that early in your course, and then when you're starting to talk about cost curves, do something like this, and all of a sudden your students are coming in. I don't think we need to sell. We don't have to sell economics. It's just a jolly fun time every day. I mean, there's some hard work that goes into it, but they can make application, make connections with that. So when they start thinking about entrepreneurship and they think about scarcity, I think it's a great activity. Now, Leanne, will you share what you do something similar with the, actually that's more chain gang though. Okay, we'll pull that back up. I'm going to do one more simulation that, this started with the junior achievement event that I saw, and then I adapted it after reading, I can't remember the name of, Dave Anderson's written a couple books, I just erased it, but he has a book, and it's actually on Dave Anderson's website there at Center College. He has some activities that they do in their class, and so I sort of merged them. I find that my students, when I'm teaching the cost curves, I think it's essential that your students get the relationship between average total, marginal cost, and marginal product. Those concepts are tested over and over and over on the same test, over and over and over and over and over. So I think this is a concept that if they discover it before you teach it, it clicks with them. Also, this brings in diminishing marginal returns. There are some other things you're going to see, and then we'll have Leanne share what she does with the paper airplanes, which is really cool. Oh, by the way, if you have marshmallows, you want to show diminishing marginal utility. I used to do this with donuts, but that's very expensive. And now we have a child, and my wife is staying at home with our child, so we went to a single income. So I use marshmallows to show diminishing marginal utility. And all I do is I say, I need 2 volunteers who are hungry. Well, of course, everybody raises their hand. Get them up in the front and just give each of them a bag of marshmallows. You record how many marshmallows they eat until they stop. And you can quickly say, first marshmallow, really yummy, and as you go. That's something real simple and real cheap. That's $1 to buy a bag of marshmallows. For this, what I'd like for you to do, and I'm going to do this exactly like I do in my classroom. I'm going to close the door though, or if I could get, do you mind doing that, Marty? Because we don't want to get real loud, but for this one, I'm going to make you move around a little bit. I'm just going to give you a number. And for right now, I'm going to put you in a group of 4, and we'll go through a couple rounds of this. So, James, we'll start with you. You'll be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then Misha, you'll be a 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So let's have the ones. If you'll gather right here, you don't need to know what you're doing yet, but here's what you need to do. You need to move to your group, number 1. Number 2, be careful. If you're doing the side school students, be real careful. You need to choose a name for your company that consists of 4 letters. Keep it clean. Okay? You got to watch that one. So we've got team 1 here. Team 2 will be right back here. Team 3 kind of in that corner. Team 4 right over here. And then if you'll send me 1 representative from each team to come get your supplies. That's all you need to know. Come up with a name, send me a representative, and move.
2. You're all right. You're all right.
Okay, we'll at least get this started. You are supposed to get in your groups, come up with a name. What was the third thing? Send somebody. Send somebody. No, just come up. Okay, I should have 4 teams. I've got more than 4 staplers. They should all work at this point. I don't know. You can try them out if you want to. Grab a stapler, don't leave. I know. You can't get rid of them. Make it constant. Okay. You don't need all this. Why don't we have 3 groups? Where are the demerit pads there? Okay.
The purple
Wait, you need a
stickers.
stapler. Grab a stapler. And
in Alabama.
need a pair of scissors. Okay, and you need some paper. And wait, I need one more thing. Now, in between each round, you all are going to be responsible for coming up and changing the marker color and throwing away or giving me your extra papers that were not used but started on. I'll explain that in just a second. You've probably done something similar to this already. Okay, you got it? You got it? You got it? Oh, yeah, dude. And let's start with green. Okay. I got a marker. Marker. Marker can be gone. Good job. Okay, let me get your names. And again, I'll bet some of you do something like this, if not this exact activity. We'll see. But this is something I find really useful for going through my cost curves and have them discover relationships. Team 1, what's our name? Help. And I make a rule it has to be all caps.
Home.
Home? Is that where you want to be?
The home team, yeah.
Somebody got it. Okay. What?
FLAL.
F-L-A-L. L? Wow.
Florida, Alabama.
Do I?
Florida, Alabama.
That works, okay. What's the name of it? Leap. And I'm going to reserve the right to have Team Dave at the end. And I'll explain why I do that in just a second, okay? Now, what you're going to be doing, you've done this when you're little children, pay attention to my instructions because I'm not going to allow you to ask questions, but you make variations based on how you interpret this, but you can't cheat, okay? But what we're going to be doing is making chains, and you're going to start, and your paper has to be cut into 4 long strips. Don't go wide. You can't make a chain very well with that. So I'm going to get 4 equal-sized strips. I'm just going to make a short one very quickly. And you can see you're lucky you don't have me on your team, so I'm not very good at this. And I'll just start it very short. Your color is green this round, so this round I'm going to start. I'm going to put my name. The name has to be on the outside, and they have to be looped and linked together in a chain. No teardrops. That's no good. That'll be thrown out. It's got to be inside loop, 2 staples. Okay? If your stapler should jam, you may come out and switch. That happens. These are cheap staplers. You can come up and switch them out, but that'll take time. Okay? Let's say that I did this link as well, and we'll go. And time runs out. Okay? And if time ran out, then Team Dave would have a total product of 2. And I've got some unused material. And I'd like, in between each round, you can't carry over material to the next round. So if something's started but not finished, you got to throw it away or bring it up here and I'll recycle it. And so I'm going to end up with this. Okay? Now we're going to start with 1 employee. And we're going to add a second and add a third. If we want to go for a 4th, we'll just do that for fun. We'll fire 1 team. And we'll fire 1 team after 3 and put you in a group of 4 and see how we end up. How are we on time? When is the break?
10:30.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to give you, don't start, look, Jan's already cheating over here. Now, this is really important. Number yourselves in a group, 1, 2, 3. Whoever's going to start first is your 1. You're the only one during the first round that can do anything. Now wait, make sure you get that, okay? So let's say Janice is the number 1 in her group and she's doing it, and let's say Janice gets crazy and just throws her stapler by accident. Can they go pick it up? No. All you can do is gently, quietly encourage, okay? But that's it. You can't touch anything. You can't switch out a stapler. You just say, go, Janice, go, okay? Or whatever. If you're with a different group, use a different name. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead. This will move quickly, but I'm going to give you a 90-second period. Then during the second round, we'll have 2 employees, then 3. Then one of your groups are going to fire you, and we'll stick in a 4th employee and see what happens. And I'll show you how I use this. Does everybody understand the rules?
Yeah.
Okay. When I say go, so I got you're starting on yours, right? Who's my number 1 over here? Ronnie?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's my number 1 here? Okay. And number 1 here. Got it? On mark. Get set. Go. 60 seconds. Come on. Quick. All right, you should be stapling by now. If not, we're in trouble. You got 45 seconds. You're halfway. 40 seconds. Quick. Okay, you got 30 seconds. Get together. Keep going if you can. You can do another one. You got 25 seconds. They are flying. No teardrops.
We got the
Okay.
teardrops.
Okay. 15 seconds. Come on, quick. You got time. You can do one more. Maybe. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. You point out that they're learning something. I would have covered, before I do this, I would have just covered as a concept the term marginal product of labor. And so, yeah, I can see some of you nodding. You do something like this or similar in your classes. So we've covered marginal product of labor. And so when I come around to your groups, I want you to tell me your total product and your marginal product for round one. That should be easy because they're the same numbers. What you got?
That's okay.
So you got 4, and your marginal product will be 4. Good. Okay, home. You got 4. 12. 5. How about them apples?
Is the conduct here ugly?
That wasn't not an instruction.
Oh, that's a teardrop.
Is that a teardrop?
That's a
No, you can't
do.
That, we call that one a Big Lots award. Do y'all have Big Lots? Okay, we have Big Lots.
It's a hanging chad, it'll be okay.
Okay, you know, we have Big Lots, and I said that could only be sold in Big Lots. But, okay, and Lee, what do we have? 4. Okay. All right, now, what I want you to do, those of you that came up with the green mark, switch out your markers to make the next round purple, and you got 2 workers. Doesn't have to be the same person. You can give them a break if you want to. It just has to be 2 people. You can't use anything that's already cut.
I hear you, man. Let me go get the article.
And you should have purple, and give me your green. Okay, now we're going to have another. Now, the rules for round 2, listen carefully. I'll give you a little strategy time. The rules for round 2. Everything you do must be connected to the chain that's already started, number 1. It doesn't have to be connected in a row, but so you can build off both sides of the chain or make a big octopus if you want to, I don't care. And 2 people are working. Now, one of the things we do in marginal product analysis, what do we assume about these employees? That, we leave it up to the managers to decide who to hire. What does the economist do, though, about these employees? They're identical. They're the same. Is that true? Obviously not. We all have different skills and abilities, but I point out to my students, so you're interchangeable parts of a machine right now, when in real life that may or may not be true. Some of you may be faster, have more dexterity than others, and better at doing this. But for the economist, we just make the assumption you're interchangeable parts. Leave it up to the managers to decide who's the right one for the job. We're just going to give them numbers, okay? So you're all just 2 people. It doesn't matter how you divide it up, okay? You've got 2 workers. And you'll have 90 seconds. Everything in this round should be purple when you're done. Count only the purples.
Do we add it to our pre-existing links?
No. Well, it has to be connected
Okay.
to that. But when I ask you for a total, let's say you do 6 in the next round, your total is going to be 6, not 10. Okay? Does everybody understand? We don't have any cheaters in here, do we? Okay. All right, you got 90 seconds? Go. 60 seconds. Yeah. It's not a teardrop, is it? Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. Oh, if you have a jam stapler, you just got to come up and get it. Horrible. Okay. You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Let's roll.
Come on, 30 seconds. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. That's right. Encourage them, Ronnie. 25.
45.
Come on, you gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta 20. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Doesn't matter which hand, that's right. It's gotta be connected. Oh, you gotta come get it. I can't bring it to you. But now you got 10 seconds. You gotta fly, you better fly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. I'm going to keep a running total in the bottom just because I'm not real good at math. So I need to keep it running because my addition is not so strong. How many did we get? 8?
On this round.
On this round is 8. So what is your marginal product of labor? No. Wait, listen. Let's see. What's the marginal product of labor of the second worker?
6.
4. It's 4. Because it went from, their total product went from 4 to 8. You added a variable input of production. In this case, our variable input of production is you. It's labor, right? We're not adding staplers. We're not adding anything else. The variable input of what we're studying here is the marginal product of labor, NP of L. We could also study marginal product of capital, but then I'd have to make the number of staplers variable, and that would make it very complicated. So, home, what was your total purple?
5, because the home office only gave us enough staples for that.
It's your responsibility to check your inventories are adequately stocked. What's your marginal product of labor?
1.
1. Woohoo! All right, flail.
We have 7 loops, 7. Our
Okay.
marginal product.
It's going to be 2. Okay? Leap. 7. Marginal product then would be 3. Okay. I'm keeping a running total here just again so I can find out who I want to fire after this round. Because after the 3rd round, here's how I determine whether you're fired or not. I go by the round. So don't worry, home. Just because your stapler ran out of staples one time, if you have the highest total product for that round, you're safe. I use the running totals as a tiebreaker. Okay? Does that make sense? So in this round, for example, then home would have been booted because they had 5 for that round. Now, let's go with orange. If you'll come up, get a marker. Make sure you got staples. I thought I checked them. I am sorry that happened. But the prize of winning is you get to be the winner. And that's it. All right. Now we should have 3 workers. After this round, one of your teams will be dissolved. Come on, quick. You got 80 seconds. Come on, we gotta roll. 75. I'm giving you a countdown. 70 seconds. Like 60 seconds, actually a little less. I'm slow. Come on, this is the determining round. One of your teams will be fired. No one says to you, you got 45 seconds. You're halfway.
Some serious looks over here.
Come on, 30 seconds. This is the last 30 seconds for one of your teams. Come on, Noam. You got to win this round, Noam.
I don't care. I don't hear any encouragement
They
here.
can't because they're all working. 20 seconds.
Lay it right back down.
15.
Through with
Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Don't add them. How about them apples? What's your marginal product of labor? 4. Good. Excellent. You got a total of 24. That was a nice round. Anybody goes double digits, that's good. Okay, what'd you all end up with? 9. And your marginal product of labor then would be? 4. Excellent. So we have a total of 18 here. Okay, flail? 11. And your marginal product of labor? 4. Good. And see, you get the idea. You can stress it every time over and over with your students. 10. Oh. Marginal product of 3. The third person just needs to be fired. Okay. Speaking of fire.
homies.
Homes. All right. Let's see. Ronnie, you'll come over here. Marty, why don't you come right next here, and why don't you go through 1, okay?